Okay, so you gotta hear this. Anthropic just did something, well, insane. They accidentally leaked the entire source code for their AI assistant claude-code to the npm registry, which is this huge online library for code, and it is a disaster. We're talking 500,000 lines of code, dozens of secret features, the whole blueprint for their most advanced AI just out there. So, was this just a simple human error, or was it the most calculated PR stunt in AI history? Let's dive into the leak that might have just changed the AI arms race forever.
So picture this. It's March 31st, 2026, and boom, it happens. Anthropic, one of the biggest names in AI, accidentally publishes the entire source code for its flagship product, claude-code. And this wasn't some minor oopsie, you know? This was the whole shebang. In one single file, you've got over 500,000 lines of their private proprietary TypeScript code, just exposed to the entire world. I mean, did that sink in? That's the kind of codebase that takes huge teams of engineers years to build, and suddenly, anyone could just go and download it.
And we're not talking about just a little snippet here. No, this was 1,906 internal files. This is the complete blueprint, the very core logic for the AI coding agent that developers all over the world rely on every single day.
But here's where it gets really juicy. Buried deep inside all that code, 44 hidden feature flags. And these weren't just for small tweaks. These flags revealed Anthropic's entire unreleased product roadmap. It showed the world not just what claude-code is, but everything it was about to become. All right, so the big question is, how on earth does a leak this massive even happen at a company like Anthropic? You'd think their security is ironclad, right? Well, this wasn't some sophisticated hack or a disgruntled insider. The truth is actually something way more common, and honestly, maybe even a little more frightening.
It was a perfect storm, just a total cascade of 3 separate failures that all lined up in the worst possible way. You had a bug in their own software, then a single missing line in a configuration file, and finally, a publicly open storage bucket. One tiny error, piled on top of another, and suddenly, disaster.
So the real culprit here is something called a source map. And the best way to think about it is like this. Imagine a giant, finished skyscraper. The source map is the architect's original, detailed blueprints. They're absolutely essential for the construction crew to fix things internally, but you would never, ever leave the full blueprints lying in the lobby for the public to see. That's basically what Anthropic did.
But okay, the technical mistake, that's just half the story. The real intrigue, the reason this whole thing blew up, is what the world found when they unzipped that file. What was actually inside Anthropic's secret blueprint?
You can bet developers jumped on this immediately. They started tearing the code apart, and what they found was, whoa! This was so much more complex than a simple chatbot. We're talking a huge chunk of core utilities, a custom-built interface, and of course, that really intricate logic that makes the AI agent tick.
And 2 things in particular just blew everyone's minds. First, this incredibly complex 3-layer memory system. It's designed to stop the AI from forgetting things or getting worse over time. It even has this background process they call dreaming to process what it learns. And second, a really powerful plugin system with over 40 separate tools that let the AI do things like read files, run commands, even browse the web, all with its own built-in permissions.
And then there's this little gem. This is my favorite part. It shows you the real human culture inside Anthropic. Instead of using some super expensive, slow AI call to figure out if a user is getting annoyed, they just wrote this. A simple, hilarious, and super fast line of code that looks for swear words and phrases like, "Are you kidding me?" It's just a perfect example of smart, practical engineering from a company you'd think uses complex AI for absolutely everything.
And the hits just kept on coming. The leak was basically a treasure map to everything Anthropic was working on in secret. There was Kairos, an autonomous agent that could work on projects while you sleep. Ultraplan, to offload heavy thinking to the cloud. And get this, Buddy, a full-on Tamagotchi-style AI pet for your computer. They even built in anti-distillation defenses, which are basically poison pills designed to mess up data for any competitors trying to steal their model.
So, okay, the code is out there. What happens next? Well, the fallout was immediate and messy. The moment that code hit the internet, the clock started ticking. Of course, Anthropic had to say something, right? They put out a statement pretty fast, trying to downplay the whole thing. They called it a release packaging issue,
a human error and made sure to say it wasn't a security breach and that no customer data was exposed. You know, classic corporate damage control.
But behind the corporate speak, the reality on the ground was way, way more dangerous. Within hours, bad actors were already posting malicious versions of the leaked code on GitHub, packed with malware. Having the full source code also gave hackers a perfect roadmap to find new security holes. And in just a stroke of awful luck, this all happened right as a key piece of software that claude-code depends on was also attacked, creating a huge risk for any developer who touched this stuff.
Which brings us all the way back to the central question, the one that everyone was asking. With everything that happened, the sheer convenience of it all, you just have to wonder, was this really an accident?
Because when you look at the timeline, things start to look a little convenient. Almost too convenient, you know? The bug that caused the whole mess was known about for 20 days. Then, just days before, there was a different accidental leak about their next AI model. The big one happens on March 31st, literally the day before April Fools, and right when they were planning to launch that buddy feature everyone just found out about.
And really, when you put it all on the table, you can see why people are so divided. There's solid arguments on both sides. For the accident camp, exposing your entire roadmap is incredibly damaging, and the headline, "We leaked our own source code," is just terrible when you're gearing up for an IPO. But for the PR stunt camp, the leak completely changed the conversation after a recent scandal. It got them tons of free press about their amazing secret features, and it was all caused by a known bug that their very own team just never fixed.
So in the end, was it a colossal screw-up or the most brilliant 4D chess marketing move we've ever seen? We might never get the real answer, but the outcome is exactly the same. The code is out there for good. The damage to their strategy is real, but so is the hype. What we know for certain is that the entire world now knows exactly what Anthropic is capable of building. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point all along.